Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all busily working on your current research paper, or perhaps any paper you're working on, depending on when you watch this video. So today I'm going to try to make this one quick. I want to show you some quick steps in accessing some of our Cowley databases. Um, okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is, well, as you'll remember, you'll recall on this particular project, this is for the research paper. You remember you're going to need at least 6 sources to help you find your information, depending on whatever your topic is. And at least 5 of those sources have to come from quote unquote Cowley Library databases. That's because sources you get from those databases are what we call scholarly academic like sources. And I'm sure you read in your texts what makes a scholarly source as opposed to, something that you might pull off, just a regular old Google internet search. We're not going to get into that too much now. You could probably read up on that stuff. But for now, I'm going to just kind of show you where to get some of these so-called scholarly academic sources. Now, about 98% of the sources you're going to get are from these what we call the EBSCO databases, Okay, so what you're going to do is hopefully you can see our screen, right? This is our class that you've all been enjoying so much, right? This should look familiar to you. If you go way to the very bottom here, you're going to see something that says institutional resources. So you click on this bad boy, it's going to open up and you're going to see a couple of things. This, by the way, is where you would get some tutoring information. I've mentioned things before on if you want to get some tutoring help. At the very bottom here, of course, we want to play around with that a little bit. Very bottom here, you'll see something that says EBSCO. So when you click on this guy, this is going to take you to our EBSCO databases here at Cowley. In fact, every college in the country has this EBSCO system. And the longer you're in college, you're going to get more and more familiar with this, and you will love it. This database has literally thousands and thousands and thousands of articles, journals, magazines, publications, you name it, on virtually every topic out there. So um, there's going to be another video posted that you'll find that gives you much more detail on how to search and find things through EBSCO. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. I just kind of wanted to show you where it was, but just as kind of a real basic search thing I'll show you. Say like your topic might be something like, oh, I don't know, social media, right? That's one of my favorites. So I might just do a random search. And again, I would encourage you to play with this to try and find things depending on whatever your topic is. So maybe I'll do something like on, social media and mental health, right? Because as I'm sure many of you are, this whole social media stuff is driving us crazy these days, right? So social media and mental health. I just do a simple search, and as you can see, it's going to pull up a few thousand results. So these are all academic journals. Everything that you find here are what we considered good scholarly articles that you can use in your paper. So now you can just kind of search through them. And again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in really getting into the details on how to, where to how to actually use this. There's another video that shows you this, but this is exactly how you're going to find your articles. Now, depending on what your topic is, right, you might want to do some deeper searching and stuff. But as you can see, this finds just a ton of articles. You might want to, modify your searches a little bit, but this is where you're going to find stuff, right? So you can see lots of really cool stuff. So this is the EBSCO database. This is the EBSCO database. This I would venture to say most of you will do most of your searching. Here is through EBSCO. And again, you can find there's just literally thousands and thousands of articles here. So most of your stuff is going to be found here in EBSCO. Okay? All right. So that's EBSCO. So let me show you another one. And again, please look at there. Again, I posted another video that was done by our librarian, a lady named Rhoda, who knows this EBSCO stuff inside and out. And she can help you with some other stuff. I also have a couple of videos posted. I think they're called works cited. There's a couple of works cited videos that get you into that show you once you find videos here in these databases how to cite things, how to quote things. So I know I've kind of gone crazy with some of these videos, but you might want to kind of go through them because once you find some of these articles and stuff like that, you're going to want to know how to cite them, how to find quotes through them, and all that kind of stuff. But there's plenty of information out there, right? You're just going to have to, maybe spend some time and looking through them. But anyway, so this is how you get into the EBSCO one again, right? Once you get out of it, it's in this institutional resources module, and you want to click on this EBSCO link. That's how you get into EBSCO. But there are also many other places to find some Cowley, uh, some good scholarly type information. So let me show you a few more of those really quick, okay? So I'm going to stop this for a second. Let me find another section. Let me bear with me 1 second here. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second here. Okay, so, oops. So if you go to, make sure everybody's seeing the same thing I'm seeing here. If you go to the main Cowley website, right? It's the Cowley website here. If you go to the main Cowley College website, right, cowley.edu, and you hover over Learn at Cowley and you go to Library, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. And if you hover over Online Resources, you're going to see lots and lots and lots of stuff. All of these little things are even more databases. Now, we just went into this one here, the EBSCO journals, magazines, and books. And by the way, if you click on this guy, I'm not going to do it now because I don't know what happened with my video stuff. But all of these little movie projector things are videos that kind of show you even more. If you're not already sick of videos, all of these little video things show you more information on how to use each of these databases. So that might be even more information for you. But these are all more databases that you could look into to get even more information for whatever topic it is. So, like I said, you can go crazy. I mean, if you have a topic, say like social media or, online bullying or whatever it is, you can just go nuts. And there's just so much stuff out there. I mean, this is the new way that libraries are going now. It's all digital. So say, for example, we already went through EBSCO. So use the EBSCO that's in Blackboard. Don't use this one. You can, but the one in Blackboard is much easier, and I'll explain that in a second. But say well, we'll stick with social media. Another good reference place to look for online is something here called Credo Reference Library. Again, you can watch a video on this if you like. But if you click on this is kind of like, maybe your parents or grandparents had a big old uh, Encyclopedia Britannica. Remember those? Anyone remember those? I know I'm dating myself, but this is like a big old library uh, encyclopedia system. When you click on that, you're going to notice this is going to come up. It's going to ask you for a password, right? And the reason it's asking you for a password is because you are not currently sitting at fabulous Cowley College right now. So I'm going to explain all this password stuff in a second. Like, oh my gosh, what do I do if I don't have a password? I will show you how to use that in 1 second. So you're going to need a password, but I'll take care of that in a second. But once you get into the system, it's going to look like this. And once again, there's just a million, right? Actually, 3,087,170 articles, titles, all kinds of stuff out here. So say I want to look for things like social media, right? You can see there's just a gajillion things out there. So this might be another place to look, right? So I'm looking for social media stuff. And again, the best thing I can tell you is play around, look for stuff, look for stuff. You can see there's just hundreds and hundreds of different things. So this is another reference point uh, you could look at. Another one you might want to consider is, let me see, opposing viewpoints in context. This is Later on, when we get into the argument section, this has like some pro-con type stuff, right? Again, it's going to ask you for a password. It's going to ask you for a password. Um, it's actually Cali. I'm going to give you a list of passwords here in a second. I'm going to show you where it is. But once you get into the system, right, it's going to have all kinds of stuff here again, right? Um, you can either look for issues, browse for issues. You can see right there's just, oh my gosh, overwhelming amount of different things. Be homeschooling. I'm interested in social media. Oh, it's been updated too. So I can look for stuff here. And as you can see, there's academic journals, there's viewpoints, all kinds of stuff. And there's videos, images, videos, there's like podcast, audio things. I mean, magazines, right? You can just get overwhelmed with all the information out here. So I would just invite you to, you know, look through some of these. There's more encyclopedia stuff. There's videos. There's just all kinds of stuff out here. So please play around. Any of these things, anything you find out here, is good scholarly academic sources. Good scholarly academic sources. Okay. So please play around with this kind of stuff. So I'm going to go back to, so you saw some of these when you get into some, if you get out of that EBSCO one I showed you on Blackboard and try to go off onto the Cowley site and get any of these, it's going to ask you for a password. So what do you do about this password stuff? Okay, so I'm going to stop this again here. I'm going to stop this again and go back to this, I think it is. Nope, hang on. Hang on a minute, hang on. Hang on. Okay, so you're going to go back to our main page, which is right here, right? Hopefully you guys can all see this. And you go back to our main page, and if you go to the current section we're in, this reporting information section, you open it up, you will see an information folder right here, and you'll see a document that says current library passwords. So if you open up this bad boy, you're going to see a list. Of course, it's really small. You're going to see a list of all of the current passwords. Now, you're not going to need the EBSCO one because you can connect to that directly through Blackboard, but these are all the other ones. That Credo reference one I just showed you, the opposing viewpoints, all of these different databases. Um, and these are the password or the usernames and passwords you're going to need for all of them. That's if you decide to get into them. Again, as I said earlier, about 97% of the stuff you're going to get is going to be from this EBSCO one that you can get directly from Blackboard, where you're not going to need a password. But if you'd like to venture out and go look at some of these other databases that I showed you, that Credo reference one, the opposing viewpoint ones, the Encyclopedia Britannica, Chronicle of Higher Ed, any of the other ones, the videos ones, there's some cool videos out there. Any of these, if you go off to the cali.edu site, you will need passwords because you're not here on campus and you're not connected to the Cali Wi-Fi, right? All that kind of stuff. So you will need passwords. So this might be handy to download, keep in your little notebook or whatever, right? Just to kind of have around. Okay. So that's where you get those passwords. Speaking of passwords, one other thing I wanted to show you regarding passwords is, say like maybe you have another class or something. Maybe you're going to write a paper in your, I don't know, psychology class or ethics class. And you don't have access to that current list of passwords, and maybe you might need it. I can tell you that this EBSCO thing should be in every single class. They have a Blackboard setup, which they should. But just in case, just as a little help for you, what you could do is, let me see if I can get out of this. Let me see if I can get out of this. When you go directly to the Blackboard site, hang on a second. So when you go directly to the Blackboard site, so right, our class, right when you get into Blackboard, it looks like this. But the very first page, so this might look familiar to you, right? This might look familiar to you. At the very bottom of the page, you will see this little button, Rand Memorial Library database passwords. So again, this might be handy to those of you who have other classes and maybe you have to write a research paper to another class and you want to access those databases for another class. You can always get these library passwords from here. If you click on that button, this is that same list that I just saved for our class. So those passwords are always available. So even if you don't have access to my class, um, and instructors in other classes haven't provided for you, these library passwords are always available here on the main page of Blackboard. Okay. Anyway, so this is how you get into the different databases, how you get into EBSCO. Again, I would encourage you to watch the EBSCO video that you will also find out there, and that will give you more detailed information on how to maneuver around the EBSCO databases. But hopefully this will help you with finding some good articles for your paper. Okay? If you need anything else, as always, let me know, and I'll be happy to help. Talk to you all soon.